Hello and welcome back to Underlab. Well, you've probably all seen Omega Flowey by now, the crazy final boss of the neutral route in Undertale. However, one question I've seen a lot of people asking is what would have happened if someone else absorbed the 6 human souls? What could drive them to do it, how would they pull it off, and what would they do with that much power? Sans in particular seems to interest a lot of people, as from the genocide route we already know he's extremely powerful, even without the addition of soul magic, so I'll be focusing on him first before talking about any other monster. Okay then, well let's find out what would happen if Sans, or anyone other than Flowey, absorbed the 6 human souls and accessed their full potential. The power to absorb human souls is something only monsters can do. In fact, it's why the humans feared them enough to go to war with them and seal them underground, as they realised that monsters could become something terrible with the power of human souls. Flowey demonstrates that to us on the neutral route, where he turns into an abomination of vines, tubes and various weapons, before attempting to tear us apart and kill us on an endless repeating loop. He managed to pull it off because it was his plan all along. As though he was unable to ever get past Asgore, he was able to watch as you did the hard work for him, before he stepped in and took the souls for himself. So what would have happened if someone else beat him to it, and why would they in the first place? On the genocide route, it isn't hard to believe that Sans may have resorted to that if we had given him the chance. We can only imagine he doesn't, as his own fatalism gets to him, as he's confronted with the fact that no matter what he does, you're determined enough to get past him eventually. Still, I have to wonder how much of a chance the human would really have against a fully charged Sans with the power of 6 human souls. Combine the power of humans with telekinesis and teleportation powers, and you have the recipe for something quite devastating. Therefore, I can envision Sans absorbing the 6 souls as a last-ditch effort to save the world, and I'm not surprised that there exist several fan animations of an Omega Sans already. If he had, the determination of the player really would have been put to the test, as if the souls could transform a pitiful weed like Flowey into a colossal engine of destruction, Sans would have surely become almost unstoppable. Another thing worth considering is that we only defeat Omega Flowey because the souls betray him considering his evil intent. Is it possible that the 6 humans would never give up hope when faced with the embodiment of pure evil itself, namely the player of the genocide route, or would they help you even sooner as an act of revenge against monster kind, considering that Asgore is the one who ordered their deaths in the first place? I can't imagine the souls feel much empathy towards the monsters considering what happened to them, so Sans may very well find himself in the same position before the human inevitably triumphs over him, even with all that power. Come to think of it, that may be the exact reason why he didn't rush to absorb the 6 human souls in the first place. If he knew the plan would inevitably turn on him, then his only real option was to stand up to us like he did on the genocide route. For the sake of it, I imagine the sorts of weapons he'd use against us would include giant bones, his powers of telepathy amplified, as well as basketballs. Why basketballs? Because Sans dunks on us if we spare him on the genocide route, and he can't resist a good pun. He'd probably throw a few colossal whoopee cushions and bad jokes at us as well in order to really get under our skin. Well, who else might end up absorbing the 6 human souls? A very likely and obvious answer is Asgore, and right now is a good opportunity to explain why he doesn't do that when forced on the neutral and pacifist route. Asgore likely knows that with only the power of 6 souls, he wouldn't be able to restrain them for long enough in order to stop you. Even if he doesn't, he may very well underestimate you as an opponent, or just feel he should only absorb the souls when he has the 7 he requires. Finally, he may simply be overwhelmed with guilt. Having had to kill 6 innocent humans up until this point, his psyche is surely in tatters, and we see proof of that if we spare him and let him express his true feelings. Therefore, his commitment to his plan may be the very thing undermining him. However, this video is about if monsters did absorb the souls rather than not. If he chose to ignore his misgivings and unlock his full power, then the player would be confronted with amplified alongside fire magic and countless red tridents. Once again though, I struggle to envision the souls cooperating with Asgore. It seems that they can think for themselves still, considering that they betray and attack Flowey, and so surely they'd never serve the one responsible for ordering their deaths. This is yet another reason as to why Asgore likely never resorted to it, as he knew it wouldn't work. It could work with 7 souls however, as we see when Flowey becomes Azrael on the pacifist route, after absorbing the 6 human souls and thousands of monster souls. It seems the equivalent of 7 human souls is enough power to control them indefinitely without them rebelling, as we only defeat Azrael because he begins to understand who he is once again, once his conscience returns. It was never because the souls betrayed him like they do when he's Omega Flowey. Asgore surely has the most knowledge about the barrier available to him thanks to the efforts of his royal scientists, and so Asgore was likely never absorbed the human souls because he knows without all 7 they won't be of any use to him. However, his lieutenants may not know as much. Could Undyne ever be in the position where she'd find herself absorbing the 6 human souls in order to fight back? Once again, it'd be most plausible on the genocide route, and I've no doubt that she knows about the 6 souls Asgore already has. As far as we're aware, all of Monsterkind does, though either way, it's certainly something he wouldn't keep from the royal captain. Unfortunately, it's highly unlikely she'd ever find the opportunity to absorb 6 human souls, what with Hotland being between her and the king. As we know from the pacifist route, she can't stand the heat, and even if she could, I do have to admit it's slightly unlikely that she'd run all the way through the fiery region just to try a plan that she can't even be sure will work. Still, for the sake of it, if there was an Omega Undyne, I'm sure she'd be throwing thousands of spears per second at us, and as for actually killing her, I doubt it'd ever happen. She can come back to life through her own willpower, so combine that with the determination of 6 human souls, and I imagine she could quite easily take complete control over the timeline. One unlikely candidate would be Dr. Alphys. If she absorbs the 6 human souls, what would happen? With her advanced scientific knowledge, she could probably work on destroying the barrier sooner rather than later. Who says you need to turn into some sort of terrifying creature when merging with human souls? Remember, when Azrael absorbed Chara, or Kara's soul, in order to pass through the barrier, there's no indication that he became something horrifying. Also, when he transforms from Flowey to Azrael, he simply resembles himself but grown up. That's proof that Flowey simply chooses to become a giant monster in order to try and kill you. Alphys could simply direct the souls to enhance her intelligence even further, and if that's not enough, she could pass through the barrier in order to try and find a solution on the other end. Funnily enough, that's along the lines of what Toriel suggested Asgore should do, though he never did. What if Toriel somehow found herself in the position where she attained such great power? I've no doubt she'd use it to become a dignified leader of her people. She could show them hope through her strength and act out the plan she originally intended for Asgore. However, it seems unlikely that she'd ever willingly absorb the souls, because she finds the method through which they were obtained to be abhorrent. Therefore, she'd likely relinquish them as soon as she acquires them. What about Papyrus? He's surely the most terrifying monster of all who could get his hands on the 6 human souls. Rather than piercing thorny vines, he'd shoot tendrils of spaghetti at us. The bombs Flowey uses would be replaced with explosive meatballs. I can only imagine he'd use such great power in order to have everyone he knows sample his terrible cooking. He'd also probably use it in order to try and become a royal guard, as I have a feeling it wouldn't dawn on him that he's several times more powerful than Undyne while he possesses the souls, and so he'd still be scared witless by her. All in all, it's probably best that the whole soul-absorbing fad is left to Flowey. How else is he supposed to temporarily transform back into Azrael and break our hearts by being a melodramatic little sap? Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, it's probably a good thing that more monsters haven't tried to absorb human souls. With enough power, anyone in Undertale would be subject to their sometimes questionable whims. For example, a lifetime of eating Papyrus' spaghetti seems kind of terrible. Thankfully, in the real game, he was more concerned with making friends than becoming a god, unlike the devious little flower turned sadistic killer. What do you think? In what way would the monsters choose to manifest their new powers? For example, maybe Burger Pants would try to crush us between 2 burger buns. And how and why would they get access to the 6 human souls? Be sure to let me know in the comments. Anyhow, as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Try not to be devoured by Omega anyone, and I'll see you next time. before I go, I'd just like to say thank you to my patrons, my head scientists Asgore and She, Cameron Vigil, Kay Jensen, Sophronius, Zoira, and Jasku Alex, and my Underlab scientists Crystal Sleet, Nicholas Dux, Armin Arler, Marisa Ray, Corey Kiswell, Yushio Karoni, Mimi Peach, and Sarah Wydra. Thanks to the generosity of every name you see here, this channel is able to keep going. If you enjoyed this video, please consider checking out the Patreon link below, as well as the video that explains why I'd so massively appreciate your contribution.